Russia's greatest love machine, the mad monk, the holy fool, Russia's mad genius, the immortal man, Rasputin has been known as a lot of things. And in Record of Ragnarok he is known as... no idea, because all we know about this elusive man is he is penciled in to fight for humanity in Ragnarok, and at the time of writing this script is one of only 2 fighters yet to appear in the series and the only one who we have not seen the design of. So yeah, all we can do is speculate when it comes to Rasputin, which of course is what this video is all about, where we will explore the possible personality, backstory, volond and design of Rasputin. So if you find yourself entertained at any point during the video, then consider liking, subscribing and ringing that bell. Anyway, on with the video. Grigory Rasputin, for those who need a refresher, was born as a Russian peasant. He became well known as a mystic, earning much of his notoriety when he was able to improve the condition of Alexei Nikolaevich, however you pronounce that, the current heir to the Russian throne. This made him quite liked by the boy's father and at the time Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II. Going back a bit though, Rasputin grew up very much as a peasant. He was known as the debauched one. At the age of 18 he started his path as a holy man. As a holy man he adopted strange beliefs that one was nearest to God when feeling holy passionlessness. So in his view, the best way to reach such a state was through sexual exhaustion after a lot of debauchery. A love machine indeed. After marrying and having some kids, he buggered off like a model dad and wandered around as a professional homeless person, living off of the donations of peasants who he helped with his apparent abilities to heal the sick and predict the future. Somehow he was welcomed into St. Petersburg since at the time they were really into their occult stuff, and so the legendary mystic and healer with so-called brilliant eyes was snatched up by their religious academy, which is what led to his introduction to the royal family. This of course led to Rasputin helping to ease the pain of Nicholas's son, possibly through hypnotic powers, earning him favour in the court, and because he was sly as can be, he slipped in a little thing about, the future of their bloodline being linked to him, which for some reason Nicholas ate up, leaving Rasputin to become one of the most important people in the royal court. And funny enough, while in the presence of the royal family he was the image of a humble holy man, but outside of work, the debauched one was back, once again, a real love machine. He proclaimed shit about his touch having healing powers, which allowed him to sleep around a lot. However, because he was a great actor, even when word of this spread to Nicholas, he did not believe it, since in his eyes Rasputin was an upstanding priest, which led to the people telling Nicholas this, out of actual concern that the Tsar was hanging around with the love machine, to be sent off and lose their positions. Of course though, eventually Nicholas had to accept the facts, and so in response to the scandal, Rasputin was expelled from the capital, only for Nicholas's wife Alexandria to have him returned a few months later, and so of course Nicholas forgave Rasputin and they became good friends once again. Then the war broke out, leading Nicholas to go command his men on the battlefield, while Alexandria and her advisor Rasputin were left to run the country. And well, let's just say he did a bit more than just advising, even commanding the military at points in time, which considering he was at best a con man, led to nothing but losses for the Russian army. And because of all this he made enemies, leading to what he is most well known for, the many attempts on his life. Many failed, but eventually Rasputin was invited to the home of Yusupov, the husband of Nicholas's niece, where he was presented with poisoned wine and tea cakes, which did not kill him, leading to Yusupov to next shoot him, which again did not kill him. Rasputin, not wanting to, die, tried to flee and was shot again, and once more did not die. Only when he was bound and thrown in a hole in the ice into a river did he finally die, the cause being drowning. Well, that's the fun version of the story. The autopsy showed he kind of just got shot once and died, but that's no fun, so we're going to go with him, surviving poison, getting shot multiple times, and then having to be, chucked in a frozen river. Okay, so real history out the way, how will this all be translated into the story? Now, the first thing people will remember Rasputin for is his immortality, aka how bloody hard it was to kill him. And although not guaranteed, I do feel the story will focus on this aspect of his history, this being why he is so commonly matched up against Anubis, the god of death. Now how this could take shape in the story could come one of two ways. Either A, he just has actual regenerative powers or some other supernatural ability, or B, which I prefer, he's an incredible con man who maybe during the match makes it seem like he has been fatally wounded, only to pop back up and reveal it was all just a trick and he's fine. Basically, option A, he's actually immortal. Option B, he's a massive conman. Another part of his backstory that could be played on is his conman nature, swindling the royal court and people all his life. And this well could lean into his fighting style, as a trickster, which could make him a great opponent for Loki. Lastly, I think his faith could be a big part of his characterization, or more likely, his lack of faith. As well, Rasputin, even though he was a holy man, was pretty bad at it. Remember his whole, to get close to gods, you gotta have a lot of smecks motto? So he may have some kind of dislikes for the gods due to this, with a really fun idea suggested by Eric King, being that as he walks into the ring, he throws his crucifix necklace onto the ground. Or being a con man and all, he pretends to be all holy and god-loving, could even pretend to betray the humans or something. I don't know, just feel his lack of proper faith will be important. For personality, I feel he could be so many different ways. He could be a calm and humble priest at first, only to switch to a real maniac once his true colours are revealed, a bit like how he was acting in front of Nicholas, and then how he was acting outside of the royal court. He could be just a creepy old man, he could be like a showman type, or possibly just a really depressed person. We really have no way of knowing. But personally, I'd like to have him be like a drunk waster uncle, you know, the ones who are always hungover and lazy till they actually need to do something, and then when they do, they're just really cool and serious. You know the stereotype I'm thinking of. And design-wise, again, there's literally no way to predict this. He could look close to his real-life self, like Simo does, or he could look absolutely nothing like it, like Qin Shi Huang. If we're going what he looks like in real life, then he would probably wear a priest garment, but we could get a very Record of Ragnarok design and he might be just wearing a Hawaiian shirt or something. Again, no way to predict this. However, what might be a little easier to predict is his Vivaldi. Though since I personally don't have any strong opinions on his Vivaldi, let's have a look at what you all said about Rasputin. Claydol Master suggests that his Vivaldi may be a book that allows him to perform magic, which, going along with what we've already discussed, would be illusions and tricks. His entire fighting style would be about avoiding anything that could hurt him and dealing damage from unorthodox forces, with his backstory revealing that he actually tricked the people trying to kill him into only thinking they harmed him, earning him the title of humanity's greatest liar, which are all ideas I really gel with. Another idea I like and feels like exactly the kind of thing you'd see in Record of Ragnarok is by Jesus Nunes, who says maybe he's born without pain receptors, which would be such a fun way to explain his unkillable fortitude without giving him actual supernatural powers. Eric King suggests that his personality might be similar to Poseidon in terms of a silent character, which could be due to his depression in how much everyone wanted him dead, or maybe he could be insane due to all the assassination attempts on his life, and could lead to a fun scenario where Brunhild enters his room and thinks a god is ready to take his life before he enters the ring, going all crazy on her. And very in line with Tessa's design, they are suggesting he will lose his facial hair, which sadly I kinda see happening. A cool idea for his Vivaldi given by Eric King is that he has dual weapons of a hammer and a sickle to show both the glory of Russia, but also how he would try to adapt to modern times, or that he has a staff with one side being a hammer and the other being a sickle. All cool ideas. Eric King also gave some really cool details for the themes of Rasputin's fights depending on his opponent, so though I haven't got the time in this video to cover them all, please feel free to pause and give them a read. I especially like his ideas for Rasputin versus Anubis. Skeletor's Rose suggests his backstory might be very similar to his real life counterpart, with a key difference being he starts to kill off the royal family to gain further power, which I agree would be a more compelling reason leading to his assassination. And they further suggest this could contrast Anubis, who didn't work up and get his hands dirty to become powerful, but immediately gained power by birth. And again, feel free to pause to read this whole thematic prediction. Matt R commented that it could be hype if Simo and Rasputin step in to save Buddha and Beelzebub from Odin, which I agree would be a badass introduction to the two, but also raises a cool point that even though their countries were enemies, they could actually be friends. Midnight Phantom suggests his powers might not be trickery but healing magic, and now I'm just picturing fighting like Andy from Undead Unluck, using his magic to heal himself as he fights, like a madman. Nathaniel makes this optimistic prediction his design will look like the real life Rasputin, and says he would bet it on his soul that there will be some mention to the Rasputin song by Body M, either as his entrance song, through Heimdall's yapping, or the band members being in the crowd. Something Ian Schmidt also agrees with, and Godman, I hope you were right. For Vivaldi, Nathaniel suggests a spellbook of sorts, or since he was a Christian mystic, maybe an exaggerated version of a cross necklace. King Link says that he thinks Rasputin's Vivaldi can take the abilities of the already deceased fighters, which would be a really broken but really cool power set to see in the story. And throwing out another left field prediction suggests his backstory would be him in the afterlife, with him finding his way out of it, but in that moment he'll believe he's the one closest to God, know that he is a god, leading him to get all upset when asked to fight, as he is no man but a god. Cheesemo Plays has a suggestion for his title, that being humanity's greatest sinner for the act of surviving death and being a proper evil dude. Isaiah Lerma also thinks his Vivaldi could be a book, but adds it may be a book from his past given by his Valkyrie, and so Rasputin when he was alive only used the knowledge in the book but had no real power until it is given actual magic by his Valkyrie. And maybe the Valkyrie is a vicious and maybe hated and sinful one with dishonour in battle, or maybe a bad reputation. Katrina left so many ideas, and I'm sad I don't have time to cover everything they suggested, but to highlight their key points, one being that his Vivaldi is one that allows him to create counters, both to anything that's gotten close to killing him, such as spells that increase his reaction speed so he can dodge bullets or an insane level of poison resistance, but would also contain spells that counter the abilities of his opponent, which would be a very fun way of doing counters that is still distinct from Adam or Sasaki. Katrina suggests his title could be human history's greatest escape artist, seeing as he was the only man able to escape even death itself. And well, since Houdini ain't on this roster, I think Rasputin's the next best pick. With his backstory being, and again I'm only hitting the highlights so pause and read the full comment if it sounds cool, that he was stillborn, only to be allowed to live either by Osiris or Anubis, which gave him the ability to negate his own death. The only way to kill him being to overwhelm him by being killed in many ways at once, and so he learnt magic to overcome this weakness, hence becoming a healer. He ends up falling in love with the queen, leading to Nicholas killing his own son, and then Rasputin being framed for the murder and killed himself, after which it's revealed Anubis had messed with Nicholas's mind to make him do it, with the theme of the fight being the meaning of life and what's worth dying over, ending in a draw where Rasputin with his last energy heals his Valkyrie to show his willingness to help those around him and make sure they're okay and safe. Oh, and Katrina suggests a scenario which I absolutely love. Maybe Rasputin leaves mid-match to get a drink or something before returning to the fight, even showing up in the crowd to commentate on his own fight, which would just be hilarious. Or another scenario where Brunhild struggles to find him since he's been either in the middle of the audience or back on Earth, and when she does, he's just drinking a juice box that he uses magic to turn into booze. And again, there's way more to this comment, but we do need to wrap up the video, so lastly, Harry Dunn thinks his title will be the most killed man in history, with, like Katrina suggested, he had not immortality but death negation, returning from death. Harry predicts, like Jack, he will be on the weaker side physically and use strategy to fight, manipulating his opponents through taunts and such. And because he always returns from death, the reason he stayed dead was because he was forever frozen. He never accepted his death and so fights Anubis, who he refused to meet by, not dying. And so he has to come to accept his own death. Or he could have killed Osiris in order to get his powers, and Anubis now wants revenge. And so the round would end with Rasputin losing and learning we must all accept death in the end. This also allows both of them to know the value of death, as Rasputin never saw the good in it and Anubis never saw the bad in it. Which I think would be a fitting end to the match and also a fitting end to this video. If you want to get your ideas in for the next prediction video, then make sure to subscribe as I'll be posting the next prediction post very soon. And if you want to support this channel even further, then perhaps pledge to my Patreon or consider becoming a channel member so you can get your name at the end of the video like Hikari Desu, Rinjak9696, Mr. Sputum and Matthias Rowett. So with all that said and done, I have been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.